Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you're listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I interview Laurie Sprague of Sprague Interiors in St. Catharines, Ontario. She is a POP alum, meaning that she went through Power of Process. She's actually an OG. She was the first cohort to go through the course. And Laurie's story is really unique in that she shares her experience moving from Newfoundland and leaving her established design business behind and having to start from scratch just before the pandemic hit in a new city where she didn't know anyone at all. I think this episode is really useful for any designers out there who are considering relocating. You know, maybe you want to move to a different neighborhood or to a different city or to a different country even. Or for those who've already just made that move and you're struggling and you're seeing that, shoot, things are a little bit different here, or I don't have my built-in network and I kind of have to start from scratch. Laurie has a really great perspective. I love that she saw it as an opportunity to start from scratch, to sort of use that blank slate to establish her process. And then she shares, of course, her experience and what she learned from the Power of Process to apply to her new business. Really great takeaways. If you're interested in what it looks like to completely relocate, I think you guys will enjoy this episode.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business.
The softest, most luxurious sleep comes from my abode bed linens. They're made from 100% cotton, and these sets make you feel like you're sleeping in a 5-star hotel. I promise. But without the 5-star price point. Invest in your rest and check out lovemyabode.com for more, and you can use my code RESILIENT10 to save $10 off your very first order.
All right, here we are with Laurie. So nice to see your face, lady. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'm very happy to be here. Nice to see your face too.
I feel like it's been so long since we've seen each other online. And of course, we still haven't met in person. The
That's
realities
right.
of the pandemic.
Yep. And I keep trying to come into those designer meetups, but I get busy and I can't get there.
Yeah. Okay, it'll happen. It's okay. We all have got a lot going on, and I totally appreciate that. We are going to try and do some in-person stuff with things opening up in theory, so we'll keep everyone posted around the world, but for now, locally. But before we dive into all that stuff and how we know each other and all that fun stuff, can you just maybe tell everyone who's listening a little background story as to who you are, what you do, and how you found me?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my name is Laurie Sprague. I am an interior decorator and I run my own boutique interior decorating and design firm. We are based in St. Catharines, Ontario. We serve the Niagara region, and I have recently moved, well, in 2018, as we'll get into, I moved my business from out east in Newfoundland here to Niagara. So that's the whole other story that we will get into. We offer full service design, and we also offer consulting, and we specialize mostly in residential renovation projects.
Awesome. Okay. So I feel like let's address the big thing that you just said right off the bat. Moved your business from one side of the country to not quite to the other, but far enough. Tell me a little bit. I want to hear from you. I don't think I really know the full story. I mean, we've talked a little bit about it because you did do Power of Process, and I want to get into that too, but tell us a little bit more about that transition.
Sure. Okay, I'll start back in 2018. I've been running my own design business since 2008 actually, and just previous to moving, I had moved out of my home office space back in Newfoundland into a studio space in a great little vibrant downtown area. I was loving working from studio, and then my husband got word that he had been accepted for a job transfer to St. Catharines, Ontario, to the beautiful Niagara region, literally like a couple of days after we opened the studio. So I feel like it was the universe sort of toiling with me. Like, you make a decision and then all of a sudden it throws you for a loop. So anyway, after much deliberation, we decided to make the leap and make the move to Niagara, which we moved here in the fall of 2018, not knowing anybody at all, having no connections. So I basically had to take my client base and my business and start all over after working so hard to build it to the success that I felt it was since 2008.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine so many of us are working so hard to build our business and our clientele and our name locally because our businesses are very local, right? To then be like, see ya. Okay. Now I'm starting all over again.
Absolutely. Like I still do service some clients from home, like in Newfoundland clients, repeat clients, which is lovely. But moving here to Niagara, not knowing anybody was, it was a big challenge. But because I had already built a business, I knew what not to do. So I tried to weed out all the mistakes and the failures that I had learned in the past and take all the successes and start fresh with those. So I was able to build my business back quickly, almost like exponentially, much faster than I had the first time around. And thank goodness I found you.
I mean, that's a really good point. Yeah. I will talk about that. But I think that's really you have such a great perspective. I just wrote that down. I'm like, great perspective. I always take notes in these podcasts. But I do think that's such a great perspective because in your position would be maybe feeling sorry for themselves, like, oh my gosh, I got to do this all over again. But I love that thought of it being a clean slate. You're right. I mean, if I were to go and start my design business in a different location now, like it would just be very different. I wouldn't make those same mistakes that I made at the beginning. And in some ways, you could quickly level up your clientele because you're not stuck in that, what I refer to as, for lack of a better term, the bad client loop, right? We talk about a power of process a lot, where once you get into a friend circle, that may not be your ideal client, but then they pass your name around to all their friends and you're getting kind of stuck in this loop. I don't know if that ever happened to you, but I could see that being a great opportunity to break away and start fresh.
Absolutely. So that's kind of the angle that I took and I ran with that. So after moving here in 2018, I didn't really launch right away. I did take some time to work on my business. And like you, I had been listening to podcasts, reading books, searching. I knew there had to be a better process. I knew there had to be a smarter way. I was coming here with the objective to work smarter, not harder. So I was doing a lot of homework before I relaunched officially in 2019 and started to take on clients locally. The other thing I did was I reached out in advance to a bunch of other designers that I found working in the area on social media to start to make connections and meet people and kind of get a sense of the community that was here, because I knew I wasn't going to have any friends here either. So I also wanted to, get to know some people. So social media was good for that.
Wow, I love that. It's so true. I mean, I've made so many great friends and connected with so many designers like you through social media. Such a powerful tool nowadays in this world where you can really be working from anywhere, you can move anywhere, and now you can connect with people anywhere. You don't have to meet them in person at like an event it's such a different world than when I first started my business, because there must have been online communities, but it wasn't what it is today. So it really was, through like my first designer friend, who was my designer bestie, Jessica Kelly, she and I met through my cousin, and we slowly built our friendship over the telephone, if you can imagine, right? We weren't messaging. We'd send an email here and there. We'd see each other at an event. And now it's so that friendship curve, it's just gone so much faster, right? Because you can connect. You took the time to slow down. So that must have taken a big a financial hit though? Like if you're busy running your business, you go full stop?
Absolutely. Basically, I went from running a 6-figure business to running a $0 business. So yes, financially, that was a big hit. My first year here was basically not even worth discussing the income that I made, but quickly I was able to, year after year since moving, double, triple revenue. And I'm back now to making more than I was when I left home. So yeah. Yay.
That's amazing, girl. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, it must feel good.
Yeah. It does feel good.
Amazing. So, okay. So what was that? Tell me more about that transition. Because you said like you were looking for a better way. What was your service offering when you lived in Newfoundland versus coming to, or did you change how you like your service offering, or talk a little bit about that? Your opportunity to reinvent yourself.
Absolutely. I offered a lot of the same type of services, but I actually took the time to write them down and actually think about what they were instead of just nilly-willy offering, to consultations and meeting with clients and designing their spaces on the fly, kind of like you used to do in your past projects. I feel like I was doing a bit of that. So I really took time to sort of think about process and offer specific services in moving here, and also increase my rates to what I felt I was worth, and sort of put more into writing. Even on my website, I rewrote the verbiage as to what our services entailed and what I offered, did a little more vetting of clients up front to make sure the projects were, a good fit. So I still offer the same sort of service. It's just I actually put it in writing. It's more tailored, more structured, instead of just, I'll do whatever you want.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is power of process. Which it's so interesting, Laurie, because when I first decided to turn all these like meetups that I was doing into an actual course offering, it wasn't power of process. It was something called Momentum, and Momentum was more of a marketing sort of focused course. But what came out of that is everybody was like, tell us about this process thing. We want to know more about it. Because I did teach about it, but it wasn't really to that extent. And then when I offered power of process, it was like, whoa, like the floodgates opened. Everybody was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. And so the thing that I thought was the most powerful for designers, which was marketing, actually turned out not to be the most powerful. It was power of process, hence the name, because I knew that it was something that I would have always wanted. People were asking about it, like you saying you knew there had to be a better way. So first of all, how did you find power process? Me? And then I want to hear about your experience taking that course at this point in your life where you have, like, it sounds like the perfect time to do a course like that, because you're just like taking the space, you know what I mean? To like get it right, slow down. So many of us are trying to do the courses and trying to listen to the podcast in the middle of crazy. So I'd love to hear how you found it, and then let's talk about it.
Okay. So circling back, before I moved, I was actually a member of the Kimberly Seldon process. So I was following that, but I did feel it was a little bit too robust for my needs, and it wasn't quite working for me. So I was using elements of that, but still looking for another way, looking for more input. And I feel like my journey in moving here and finding you all kind of came about at just the right time, because I think I started following you on Instagram during the move or just before the move. And then as soon as you started your podcast, I listened to every episode while I was taking that time to slow down and think about how I was going to relaunch. So then when your courses came up, it was just a no-brainer, because I had done the marketing to relaunch myself upon moving here. I did your Google business. I did a local mail out. I advertised in local community newspapers. So business was coming in, but I realized I hadn't taken the time to really get my process nailed down. So as clients were coming in and as I was growing, I was finding I'm going to need to hire help. And then if I don't have my process written down, how can I get somebody to help me if I can't tell them what to do? So it was a bit of backtracking. And that's when Power of Process came up, and it just, it was a no-brainer. The course really helped me just put a lot of the things I was already doing into a formal write-up so I could visually and, see the process in front of me.
Sometimes we just need that, I don't know, whether it's a person or a course or a drive or a thing to just kind of make us sit down and reflect and do the thing. You know what I mean? It's like somebody needs to hold me accountable. It's like going to a yoga class, doing yoga at home. Like I'm way more likely to push myself if I go to a class. If I'm going to do it at home, I might do it. I might not. It won't last as long. It's the same concept.
Totally. And it also allowed me to, when I put it in writing after, following the steps that you talk about, it showed me what I was missing and identified some holes in my process that I needed to fill to make it better and to make it a better client journey. And then I was able to relaunch and rebrand just recently. So I used to operate as Laurie Sprague Designs when I was out east, but I've recently incorporated and rebranded to Sprague Interiors. And I now have 2 designers working with me as contractors part-time. Things are going well.
Done.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Congratulations, girl. Big time. That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. So I think this is interesting because I know a lot of designers who have a process or they're trying to model a process after someone else, like you said you did. And I did that too for many years, right? Until I realized that maybe it wasn't a one size fits all approach. I think that that's really what I talk about in POP is it really kind of needs to be individualized, right? Because we are all unique. And I think there's power in accepting that just because Jessica Kelly does her process one way doesn't mean I have to do it that way myself, but it's nice to have a guideline. So maybe do you share a little bit how your process has evolved from, pre-POP, which is power process, to where you are today? And is it still evolving? I'd love to hear.
It is always evolving. After every project, there's sort of a sit down moment where you reflect and go through it to see where, you could have improved or maybe where you strayed and you realize you need to stick back to the process. But initially, basically I just offer the consultation. And then after that, it was like, okay, we're going to design your space. But there was no real process in how I got that from A to B. Thankfully, I managed to get my projects completed successfully with no real big, hiccups throughout the past. But now I have a phased approach and I've broken it down into the 3 phases. It's a consultation phase, and then it's the design phase, and then the implementation phase. And then within each of those phases, there's also further broken down into the steps it takes to get through that phase to completion. And we have started doing the big reveal, which is one of my favorite parts, pre-COVID, we'll say, because now it's not happening as...
Yeah, pre-COVID, but yay! Yay! I'm so glad you did it because so many people are resistant and they're like, oh, I want the reveal, but I can't do it. That won't work for me. Oh my gosh. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll just say the 2 biggest game changers were the presentation, where you show them everything in full, and the reveal day, because at the end of the reveal, the look on the client's faces and the feeling of satisfaction that they have and we have from getting the job done and them coming home to see the space, it's all worth it. Totally.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I don't I know for me, when I started doing those things, it was really, it was hard because I had to push myself to do the work, to do the planning, to get to presentation or to get to the reveal, right? Sometimes there's resistance, I think, as a creative to sticking to a process and being planning things because we feel that it might be crippling our creative ability, right? No, I just want to wait. Yeah, I know designers like this. They're like, no, I don't want to pick the kitchen hardware yet. I want to wait and see when the kitchen's installed. But the problem with that is now you're delaying everything. And by the end, a year later, when the kitchen's installed, you don't even really remember the design anymore. And you're over it. You think you're going to be into it, but you're already moved on to the next project. And it's just like one more nagging thing you have to select on your to-do list when you're just trying to move on. I don't know if that's been your experience, but that was my experience.
Absolutely my experience. One of the biggest pain points in the process is getting ready for the presentation and completing everything on that checklist. It's so difficult, like you said, with a creative designer's mind to just put your head down and do the work. But after doing all of the research and all of the hard work with my own business and myself to get this process in place, I realized sometimes then you have to put your head down and do the work. Because you can do all of the, planning and courses and business development, but if you don't just do the work and follow your own process, it's kind of a waste of time.
Totally. I'm curious, you did POP, I don't remember, I get confused with all the different cohorts, but did you have access to the checklists?
Yes, I did.
Did I have checklists back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe there were in some. Yeah.
Okay. Was there any checklist, just out of curiosity, that you thought was the most powerful or useful?
Not off the top of my head, but one checklist that I do use often that I've implemented is like from ordering, like making a checklist of all of the things that we order. Like once you present all the pretty things to the clients and they make all their selections, and we go away and create checklists of all the orders that need to be made. That one's really helpful. And the consultation.
It's fine if you don't remember. I'm just curious.
The consultation
checklist.
Yeah. That's one that we use as well, making sure we have everything we need when we're at the consultation and don't leave forgetting, did we measure that doorway to see if the sofa's going to fit in, or all those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Checklists have been really powerful for me. I think too, like you'll find, or if you haven't already, when you're trying to grow your team and you're trying to bring on people to your company, when you have when you have a process, it makes it so much easier to teach them how to do things. But also if you have a checklist, because you pass it on to somebody else and say, here, make sure none of this gets missed. So that's not you having to remember in your head all the things.
Yeah. Another one that I use often is the checklist for our install day toolkit, to make sure that it's stocked before we go. So I have a checklist that goes in the bag. So before we go to the next install day, we make sure we take that bag out, check the checklist to make sure everything is in there that we're going to need for our install day. So that one's useful as well. And that's an easy task to delegate to somebody. Hey, go check the bag, make sure everything's in there that's supposed to be in there before we go to install tomorrow.
Totally. And that's something that even an intern could do, right? Like, hey, can you go through our we call it the reveal kit, but you can go through the reveal kit, see what's missing. Like, let us know if we need to pick anything else up. Is the iron still there? Like, we haven't done a reveal in a year. Like, what's going on? Where are we at? Yeah. Checklists are very powerful. Huge part of making sure, like you say, it's one thing to do all the business development and take all the courses, but if you don't actually implement them into your business, then it's not gonna make a change or make a difference. And then having those checklists, I think for me, has really forced me to ensure people are following it. But again, and I don't know if you're seeing this because now you have designers working for you, it's only as good as you're enforcing people to use it. Right? Have you had that experience? I'm super curious. It's one thing to have a process on paper. It's a whole other ballgame to actually circle back and be like, okay, what's next? Right? Instead of just, because the temptation for a lot of us who have run our businesses without process is to just wing it.
Absolutely. Yes, I have found some of the checklists. I actually wonder, one of the designers that works with me actually is very tech savvy and pretty much paperless. So when I'm taking out the checklist, literally like a piece of paper, she's like, oh no, I don't need that. I'm just going to put it in my computer and send you the file. I'm like, oh, right. So, so it's always evolving, always changing. I'm always open to learning and new ideas. I don't think it's ever a finite process.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, would you say having your process now in your new location has affected your confidence or has helped you with the conversations? Does it help back you up? And I always say that, but I'm curious to hear from you.
Absolutely. It's allowed me to take on bigger projects with confidence and take on better projects. Because one of the big things I implemented was the discovery call and the intake questionnaire, which also helps, before you even, because I don't know about you, but during that COVID, when we shut down and everything was like nonstop, nothing was proceeding. And then all of a sudden it was this onslaught of new inquiries. That was the busiest moment I've ever had in my business, but it didn't really translate to a lot of projects. So thank goodness I had those checkpoints in place, because otherwise I could have been saying yes to a whole bunch of stuff that weren't right for me. So yes, it has allowed me to be confident in my client interactions and to, in the end, get better projects that are more suited to work I want to do.
Oh my God. I love that you just said that. I think that's so honest, because that was exactly our experience. And it's so great that you shared that, because someone else has probably experienced this where, yes, lockdown happened 2020, like everything's on hold, things that are already started can continue. And then things pick up, and then it was like, oh my goodness, I have never had so many new leads. It was like more new leads in a matter of months than I'd had my entire career running a design business. It was bananas.
It was bananas. And it almost stressed me out if I didn't, put those roadblocks in place.
But the temptation for a lot of people is like, oh my God, yes. Okay, I got to hire, I got to grow, I'm going to take on all these projects. And I would see designers, they're like, oh my God, I'm so busy right now. I have so many projects. And I had this moment of a reflection where I was like, why am I not? Like, I had all those leads too, and they didn't all convert. But the reality is exactly like you, Laurie. And I love that you have so much like grace and confidence talking about this, because the reality is that's actually a really good thing. There's someone out there, the theys of the world, that say, for every whatever, like for every yes, there should be like, I'm making up a number, 5 no's. But the idea is that you should be saying no to more projects than you say yes to. And I know anyone listening who you're just starting out, you might be like, well, that must be nice for you, Rebecca. Like, you've got all these projects. And sure, when you're first starting out, you want to take on jobs to get experience. But once you have that experience and you know the type of projects you want to work on, it can be scary to say no. And saying no sometimes looks like you just described, which is not you actually saying no. Because like, most of us don't want to like disappoint people, right?
Yeah.
So the workaround that I have found a workaround so I don't have to say no is to pre-qualify them. And it's through your intake. It's through your minimum project spend. I'm imagining, right? These are the things we do. It's through educating clients on our process, that we only operate, full service design. That in Power of Process, I say, like, in my opinion, I think designers should only have one service offering to start.
Yes. And
so
I
many
currently,
people, like you said, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am in that point where I am offering full service and still have some consulting clients left. But I am moving towards probably going full service only, just so I can take less projects, but more satisfying projects, hopefully.
I love that. Yeah. Oh, I love watching this journey of yours. This is so exciting. But it's so true. It's something that it's taken me a while to wrap my head around and understand. But I've had that same experience where we had we were inundated with leads. And I actually just had Vera pull, because she still manages all of our onboarding. Our new office manager is going to hopefully take that off her plate soon. But and we've been tracking them, right? So all of the leads, they all come into a program that we use. And then we look at, okay, do they move to a discovery call? And then which ones move to a consultation? And then which ones, turn into a full service project? So we can look at our funnel and look at our conversion rates. And at first, when I saw the volume of leads that she told me we had, like, it was insane. It was like just shy of 100 leads in a year, which is unheard of for us. And then you see that, and then I look at the number of projects that we have, and I'm like, what the hell? What? Like, we don't have that many projects, but then realize, like, that means that our filtration system is working. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do think there's a flip side to that, where then we need to reevaluate our marketing strategy and see, what message am I sending? Am I sending that I'm affordable? Because why are these people reaching? Or it could be on the website, or is it in the Instagram, or is it just referral based? And it's like looking at all that could be referrals from past clients when I used to do smaller budgets or what have you. Thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of us have gone through receiving all these leads, but then, like, I have designer friends who are like, I don't know, I've got like 5 proposals out. No one's getting back to me. It's that everybody thinks they want to do the thing, but they realize that probably they don't have the money or the time or the real desire to do it. I love that you're filtering people. I love that.
Yeah, it's been working for me so far. Of course, nothing's perfect and I'm always, growing and learning, but putting the minimum on my website helped. And also, with that discovery call, just putting it out there right off the top that this is the quality of projects we like to deliver. This is what we're looking for. Thank you for your inquiry. But right now we just don't feel it's a right fit at this time. And then, I always try to offer, like, if you want to just do the consultation, we'd be happy to meet with you to perhaps help you along with your project. Or I also can refer to other designers or decorators in the area that I know are looking for that type of project. I'm happy to share referrals. I know there's enough work out there for all of us. And like you always say, like, collaboration over competition, I really believe in that. So I'm not afraid to refer somebody, if I think it might be even a better fit for them than it is for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Because ultimately it's very personal what we do too, right? So someone who resonates with you may resonate with another designer or vice versa, right? So it's always great to know that you can refer. And I think clients really appreciate that too, instead of you just saying, sorry, we can't take you on. Because the reality is, it's so interesting. We have our own perspectives and our own perception that we think there's a million designers out there. There's so many designers in St. Catharines. There's so many designers in Toronto. Like, they can easily find someone. But really, that person who reached out to me doesn't know any designers, follow anyone on Instagram. They only heard about my name through so-and-so. And so they would be so grateful to have a recommendation for one or two other designers.
Absolutely.
Forget our reality is not that of our clients.
Yes, that's right. We're in our own little designer bubble, but it's not also about budgets. Like the certain aesthetic that I'm trying to do, like perhaps if somebody called me and they were really modern and that's not what I like to do, then, all budgets aside, I'm still not interested in that project. I want to try to do projects that are like, fill me up and get me excited. And that's where my creativity comes out. So yeah, it's not always about the bottom line in terms of big budgets either.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was actually just on a podcast talking about this, how for the longest time, my goal was just to get clients who came to me for my design aesthetic, because I felt like at the first few years, it was just, I just did anything, everything. Right. And it was, I could make that work. I could make ultra modern work. I could make traditional eclectic / I don't even know what that would be work, right? Like, you kind of make it work. And then you realize, no, like, I want to use plaid. I want to use the color blue. I want to use, like, I don't know, brass. I want to do framed kitchen cabinets. Like, I want to do these things. And so now I feel like we're at that point where people are coming to me for my look, which is so rewarding. Now it's the next level of filter. It's like, I love that you love our design aesthetic. But now I don't know that your investment is going to cover the scale of project that you want to do, right? And I think that's so wonderful to hear you say that you can turn people down because they don't align with your design aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy at first, but it has become, I've kind of lost the emotional attachment to the saying no, and now it's just a business decision, and I'm more comfortable to do that. And it still doesn't always work out 100% that the clients that you take on are exactly what you expected. We all know that, you can be thrown for a loop and there's surprises that come up. But for the most part, I have to say the clients that I'm working with are fantastic.
I love that. That's so wonderful. Look at you go, girl. I'm so proud of you. You're so like business savvy. You've got it going on. I love it. I want you to share about the reveal, because you said that was kind of a big game changer for you. I mean, pandemic delays aside, how does that look for you? And how do you communicate to the client when the client's like, I just want to get my sofa when it's ready?
So one of the other things I've been able to do since moving here is use the services of a receiver, a warehouse and a receiver, so that we can, get everything together and deliver it all in one day. So I as part of my vetting process with clients, I go through what that looks like with them. And I'm finding that the clients that I'm working with are excited about that. So it really hasn't been a challenge to talk them into it. So pre-COVID, I had completed a couple of them. And if it wasn't a full day, it was only a half day install of like a living room or something, we'd send them out for lunch on us and say, we'll let you know when we're done and have you come home. And it was a whole big day that they were looking forward to. But now, of course, with COVID, because things are trickling and sometimes we have to do multiple deliveries because we just need the sofa and love seats. We can't wait any longer for the other pieces. So we're still trying to implement it as much as possible, but I'm not finding it a challenge for client pushback because they actually really look forward to the reveal. It gets them excited.
Isn't that amazing how like something that we think, again, is perception, but something that we think a client is going to have pushback on actually is the opposite. It's like our own, I mean, I don't know that you have this, but I certainly did this where I would like project my own insecurities, right? Or my own, like I see it sometimes with more junior designers on our team who, when we're like let's say we're looking for a substitute faucet and this client happens to have like very high-end taste and we are replacing an existing faucet that's maybe $5,000 value. And, someone with less experience come and say, well, like, or someone who doesn't necessarily value expensive faucets will say, here are the options. Like, I think this one's a better option. The client's like not going to pay. And I always say, well, how do you know? How do you know that the client isn't going to want to pay that until you give them the option, right? If it fits within budget. Obviously, if we have a budget and it's beyond it, that's a different story. And I recognize, like, I used to do that too. I would say I wanted clients, right? But then I would act as if I was the client. And though I had high-end taste, I was always nervous, right? You're like nodding your head that they wouldn't want to pay for it. And like, oh my God, this fabric, it's $300 a yard. Oh my God, that's so expensive. Oh, I love it so much. There's no way. You know what? Maybe just this one time, I'll pass on some of my discount, right? Have you done this? Where you're like laughing, like where you're like, okay, well, like, you know what? Maybe if I just charge them like $200 retail, and then you're doing all these favors for these clients that probably didn't really appreciate the favor, didn't even know you were a favor, and probably would have paid full pop for the fabric, but because I was projecting my own sticker shock onto the item, because quite often, the design clients we work with have vastly greater budgets than we ourselves have for our own projects because we're just not there yet. We will be there, but we're not there yet, right? Tell me about it. Have you had any experience with that?
Absolutely. I can totally relate. And I'm also working on my money mindset, and I'm trying to not put myself in my client's shoes. So I say to myself, my client hasn't hired me to save them money. If they want me to stop at a certain level of investment or budget, they're going to tell me. But until then, if I find the perfect product that I know meets the aesthetic and the design brief, I'm going to show it to them and I'll push for it until they say no. And then once they've been presented with the entire package and, they see the whole budget, it's up to them if they want to scale back. But what I'm finding, somewhere along the way, someone did give me a tip and say, when a client gives you a budget, don't feel scared to show them options that are beyond the budget because they are hiring you to show them the best design that they couldn't implement on their own. So I started doing that, and I realized, that oftentimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. It depends on what they value, like you said. But I'm not as afraid to show them, the higher end stuff that as long as it meets the design. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, think about it. It's like an emotional purchase when it's for your home. So sometimes that's the negative part of working in residential because it's so emotional. But other times it's like going shopping for, a pair of jeans. Yeah. Could I go to Old Navy and buy jeans? Yes. But do I really want the Citizens for Humanity that like hug and fit really well, or the Madewell jeans or whatever they are, the designer, those are like probably not even high-end designers, but that's what I think of as designer jeans. That are a few $100s. Well, I'm prepared to spend more money on the jeans. Can I get jeans for cheaper? Sure. But I don't value that. And I can see the difference in quality and I can see the difference in how it makes me feel. So it's not up to us to make those decisions for our client unless they've specifically directed us to do so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's kind of doing them
100%.
a disservice, really, to show them, not the best of the best when they expect that you are showing them the best of the best options. And typically now when I meet with clients and we talk about budget or investment, they don't know. They haven't bought a sofa or furnished their house in 10, 15 years. So they're looking to me to guide them. So typically it hasn't been a huge issue, but if it is something they don't value, they'll just say, hey, I want you to reselect a new dining room chandelier that isn't X thousands of dollars, and we need to bring it down more towards this price point. And then, you can always find an option that works. If you need to do a little revision here or there, you can still get the overall look.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head where, they've hired us to give them and put forward our expert opinion and ideas, things that they wouldn't think of themselves. Mm-hmm. I think it's good to remind ourselves that and to remember that is value our worth in that sense, like you say, because it doesn't always have to do with money either. We recently had a situation where we're just finishing up a project. The client added to the scope. They wanted to paint their husband's office. And there's some built-ins. And so we said, yeah, no problem. Like, we'll get a price for that. And, we'll just bill hourly outside of scope. And I was with the team picking the paint color. And I said to my team, I was like, I really feel like they need to paint built-ins because this is a tiny room. And I feel like the built-in should just match the wall. Like, it should just all be this beautiful shade of green. And then we can have our Roman, then it won't look so cluttered and messy. And then my design team said to me, oh, well, that's going to be more money and it's going to be more time. And I said, I know, but the client can say no. But if we don't go to them with that idea, what if that client then walks into their friend's house and sees how that friend's designer, because this realm where everyone has a designer, these clients are at that level, and they see that their friend's designer painted the bookcase the same color as the walls. You don't want the client to then say, well, why didn't my designer recommend that? And so sure enough, we recommended it and the client said no. But I feel so much better having put forward my recommendation for what would take it to the next level so that there can never be a question that they're not getting their full expertise from us.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to let things squash your creative output. So I am working more on getting back into enjoying what it is I love about the business, of doing interiors. So now that I feel like I have processes a little bit, better and I have designers helping me, I'm really trying to focus back on the enjoyment of running my business and why I went into it and trying to be more creative. So
love that.
Budgets are important or investments are important, but I don't think they should hold us back.
I love that. I think that so many of us, I know for me, you get kind of caught up in running a business and the detailed, the everyday, the checklist, I got to do this, I got to do that. And you stop carving out time to actually be creative. I know for me, when I first really started working within a process that had these sort of parameters where I no longer drag my clients around with me shopping, we control all of the design selections in-house. All of a sudden, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Like I now had the time to sit with plans and spend time really looking at them, really playing around with a fabric scheme. And I felt like now I could give myself and my team the time to create and have fun because you can lose that.
Totally. And I feel like I had, when I was working so much on the business, I had lost a little bit of that. But now that my process is a little more refined and I'm a little more comfortable with it and I can pass some of it on and everybody knows what the steps are, I'm finding I can get time to be more creative and get back to enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Is there anything else to share with us while we have you here with sort of that experience of, I guess you kind of reinvented yourself. You came up with a new name, you established a new process. Like anything else that we haven't touched on that you think would be worthwhile to talk about?
Maybe the fact that after moving here so quickly, I was not shy to pitch my work and I was able to get published twice since moving here. So don't be afraid, designers, to put your work out there. Yeah. I had been published in a magazine in Newfoundland, but it was Newfoundland and Labrador Interiors magazine only. So moving here, I was like, hey, I'm going to find some local magazines and try to get my work out there and see what happens. So, and I also put my work into a competition with the DDA and won an award for bathrooms over $30,000. So I feel like, honestly, all the time it took to move and slow down and refocus, I was able to do other things that then allowed me to level up. So yeah, put yourself out there, I guess. Don't be afraid.
Totally. I think that I like that you say that because so many people think they don't have the time to work on their business, right? Because you're like running around. But when you actually take the time to work on your business and you set it up for success and you can automate and you create repeatable processes and systems, then you're freed up to do whatever the heck you want, whether it's pitching to magazines or just spending time having a creative day. Or for me, I was able to launch a podcast. Like I have a whole second business now because my design, now I'm not going to say my design business runs perfectly and seamlessly every time. Absolutely not. That would be a total lie. But we have systems people can follow. We are in the process of continually improving how we do things, but it's enough that I'm able to step away and like sit down for a day and like with ideas for a course offering or make it better or do an Instagram live just to talk about business. Like I can take the time to do that. Like last week I took my operations manager to Ladies' Day skiing on a Friday. And I was driving in the car and I was like, oh my God, as if like the past version of myself would never have been, I was always like, oh, sure, look at those people golfing. Like, who has time to golf during the work week? And here I am taking someone to like a private ski club to go skiing for the day. And I paid for it. And I just thought, like, how cool is it? It's not so much about the financial. It was about the fact that I could free up my time to do something that was outside of work. And I didn't once have to check my emails because I knew everything was taken care of. Like that is where I feel that process. Like I feel like I'm a little obsessed with it because it has been such like of all the things I've done in my business, to me is the biggest change. And it's something that is continual and ongoing. That's how I feel. So I agree with you. I think pitching in magazines, that takes time. If you're going to do it yourself, you're not going to pay a publicist.
That's right. Well, at the time I had looked into a publicist and realized how expensive they are. And I wasn't quite ready to make that investment. So it was an investment of time on my own. Yeah. An investment to enter competitions, all of that stuff this time. But having the process freed up some time for me to be able to do that. Just like you said, my Mondays are kind of my office day for check-in at the start of the week. Fridays I leave for my end of week office day. And also I carved out some time for my creative time on Fridays to, do whatever kind of fills my cup. And then I also, leave early, usually Friday afternoon. So, we've got Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays as our hard work days when I'm together with my designers and meeting clients. I don't take client meetings outside of those days if possible, and no weekends or evenings either, unless, I'm doing it to work on my business for things that, make me excited. But yeah, establishing a schedule. And that was one of the things I got from one of your podcasts too, was about the Google schedule and planning. That was a fabulous thing to implement.
Yeah. Thank you for actually doing it. So many people are like, yeah, I should do that. Yeah, I should do that thing. Yeah, I should do that thing Rebecca talks about. Yeah, I'll get to that. You actually did it, girl. I love it.
Yeah. Like I said, you just have to do the work. It's great to invest the time in the courses, but you have to implement the processes. Yeah.
Totally. Oh my gosh. So good, Laurie. I'm so excited to continue watching your journey as your company grows and you get published more. I can't wait to watch. How about a last nugget of wisdom? I always put people on the spot. I should remind people in advance. Do you have a last nugget of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience before we sign off today?
Sure. I'm going to share one that comes to mind because it's recently something that came up with a conversation I had. My husband at hockey, one of his coworkers, his wife wants to break into the business, and she's doing the course and was going to do some consultations for people for basically free or nothing. So my takeaway or a bit of advice would be to always charge for your time. Always charge for the consultation, even if it's a smaller value. Like I always charge for my time right from day one. Because if you don't, people will devalue and not really, take you seriously. And plus you're worth it. You have to have the confidence to put yourself 100%. Out there. Yeah. So always charge for your time and charge for your consultation.
Oh my God, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a conversation with another POP alum, and we were talking about just that, about how sometimes it seems that our industry is not valued for the value that we offer, like expertise. And part of that comes from so many people devaluing their service by doing it for free. Hey, I've been there. I've done consultations for free. I've shared my stories here and with you guys in POP. But if someone's going to take you seriously, first of all, you have to charge sometimes in order for someone to take it seriously and for them to treat you like a professional. I love
Absolutely.
that. Such good wisdom, girl.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Oh my gosh, so good. I'm so excited. I'm so happy you joined me on the podcast. Your story is so unique and interesting. Well, not unique. I think there's other people going through it, but it's unique to the podcast because we haven't talked about people relocating. And I know one of the beautiful women who shows up in our, just those designer meetup Zooms that we have once a quarter or what have you, she just moved she was moving, I don't know if she's moved yet, from New York City to Naples, Florida. If you're listening, you know who you are.
Lucky her.
Yeah. And I thought, whoa. But you know what? Thanks to community, collaboration over competition, one of the designers in our group who's in Connecticut is like, oh, my friend's a realtor in Naples. I'm going to hook you up. She hooked her up. Now she's connected with everybody wants a good real estate agent as a designer, right? Mm-hmm. Know projects and refer them. So there's so much power in that community. And I'm so glad that you're a part of it. So thank you for joining us today to share.
You are welcome. Thank you. It was awesome.
Well, wasn't that just so good? I mean, I think it's so interesting to hear about someone relocating. I'm not going to lie. I've debated moving. I've debated, do I leave the city and move to the country? Do I move to a town? Do I move to like another country like Nantucket? I don't know. I do think about it from time to time and I think, oh my gosh, your design business, like it's locally based, right? Like that is a lot of change and all that hard work building could feel like it's for naught. But I think Laurie has a great perspective and she's really taken it as an opportunity to just get better and grow. And now she has this thriving team. She has 2 designers working for her, which is awesome. And I like that she really reminds us that your process is constantly evolving. And that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And that, to me, is really why I wanted to do the Power of Process in the beginning, because I had done other programs where I had been taught, like, do it this way, and this way works. And I did it that way for a while until I realized that maybe that way didn't fit the type of company or the business I wanted to grow. And so I think for me, the Power of Process is really powerful for designers because I show you how you can create a process that is unique to you and your business. But you can model what I do. And I share all the things and all the ways that I do things, my exact process. I share checklists. I share, documents and PDFs and templates and all that fun stuff so that you can take it, make it your own, but you can also completely do something different. The important thing is that you have a process because it becomes the backbone to your business. And just like Laurie said, it gave her the confidence to charge for her worth, to give her the time. It freed her up to have time to be creative, to pitch to magazines. Like, think about what could you do if you had 2 extra days a week? And now imagine you have a process that means your company is running like a well-oiled machine. Obviously, it's constantly evolving and there's hiccups along the way, but it frees you up enough to do anything else that you love to do or to do more of those elements you love. It's very powerful, which is why I called the course The Power of Process. Anyways, if you guys are interested in finding out more about Power of Process, please go check it out, rebeccahay.com/power of process. You can also link it in the show notes. And let me know if you've contemplated making a move like this and if this episode was helpful. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys soon.